different, and you'll
We're
find
live.
which one's better today. Well, howdy and welcome to Stall Talk episode 10. My name is Kendra Dixon, and wow, we're at 10 weeks already. Lori, this year is flying by. And
Yes, it
man,
is.
since we started Stall Talk 10 weeks ago now, I'm just more and more fascinated at what we're learning. So thank you for joining this journey, whether you're watching live right now on a platform, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. I'm not sure where you're watching from, but welcome to Stall High. What is Stall High? Stall High is actually an app. So it's an app we created just for horse people. And since we started late 2020, because of, mandatory stall rest, and my dad used to say, never leave a horse in the stall too long, because when you confine a horse or anyone to a small space for too long, they will start to behave outside of their normal characteristics. So he always said, get your horse out of the stall. Your horse needs to be outside. Your horse needs to exercise. Get the horse out of the stall so he doesn't buck you off. That stuck with me. Stall high is a term that I have heard since I was a little bitty ranch kid in Wells, Texas. So when it came time to start the brand and release the app, Stall High, I thought it was very fitting for what we were all experiencing in 2020. Now, as we have grown since then, as we are really starting to find our voice and what problem we solve in the horse industry, it boils down to the mental block. There's so many different reasons why a horse is not willing to work. And first and foremost, we always, as good stewards, need to rule out pain. Is our horse in pain? Well, it's just prudent. Have your vet check your horse. There are so many great vets, massage therapists, equine chiropractors, people who specialize in equine dentistry. There are great diagnostic tools available to us today to locate physical pain. Stall High, my team and I at Stall High, we are here to help address the mental damage being done that is a repercussion of physical pain. It's either caused from lack of knowledge, that can be on the horse's part or the rider's part. Confusion, insecurity, so lack of confidence. Let me know if this rings a bell, guys, either with you or your horse. Or it can be sustained, an emotional injury can be sustained from physical pain that either was allowed to repeat itself or it was so severe that it left a really bad taste in your horse's mind. Not just his mouth, his or her mouth. So here comes Martin Patella right now. So this week, we're going to talk about unnecessary expenses, unnecessary risk that I've taken them because I didn't have the knowledge to do any better. I didn't have the knowledge to do any different. I was just following the crowd. I was getting caught up in the competition, and I was allowing myself to be pressured by my peers. What everybody else, and even pro trainers that I watched, I allowed them to put extra pressure on me and my horse. And that really didn't always add up. At Stall High, we have a team of coaches. We have a mentorship program. If you want personal help with your horse, you can come to a live class every night of the week, Monday through Friday at Stall High. And it is super convenient to join, and it's very affordable for you to get the answers that really you can't find anywhere else. We're the only ones addressing the mental health of the horse and the value, right, that is being decreased each time we overlook. When we undervalue a horse's mental health, his total value of life goes down, and so does his total price tag. So I don't know if you're trying to regain what you've already invested in your horse. If you're looking to make a profit on a sale horse, you definitely want to watch today and set your reminder to be here for Stall Talk every Tuesday on YouTube. So Martin Patella, how are you?
Thank you. I'm fine. It was just another one of those software moments where you come to the computer and Microsoft says, we're updating your Windows, and Zoom says, we're updating your software. And here I am showing up late, but I'm alive.
That's fun. We have those moments all the time. So that's just.
But anyway, that's my side of it. It's more important about how's yours. You showed me your ride with a green shirt on.
Yes, so I'm actually going to share that video today because I sustained a little injury. Just soreness, nothing big, but I think it's a great example to go through. Lori Roth. So this is my right hand woman at Stall High, Lori Roth. She's coming at you from Nacogdoches, Texas. And we're going to talk today about
Hello.
the expense. So Lori, you get to watch it because you're sitting in the control panel. You watch the dashboard every day and you watch our members at Stall High. And it's really fascinating to see the results. So what are your thoughts, just as someone who didn't grow up with horses, on what you're seeing as far as emotional health of horses and changes you're seeing at Stall High?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it may sound cliche, but it's the truth. One of our members who came in and started with the program, went back and watched Ride with Confidence from last year, and then was coming in at our 6 p.m. Time slot every night to get group coaching and some individual guidance on her particular horse. She was coachable. She came in ready to learn, ready to make changes. And I think in her first 2 weeks, she said that she had gone to a barrel race, and she said, once you see, you can't unsee. So some of the things that we've covered in, Ride with Confidence, and that we talk about during our interactive Zoom meetings, is the things that people consider to be common, like a horse getting all revved up and amped up going into the alley, shaking their heads or bobbing their heads coming into the barrel, going around a barrel, passing the barrel completely. Just some of the common things, or dropping a shoulder. Some of these things they really are common. They're considered common, and you see them at every barrel race. We have figured out that can be prevented. And in most cases, it's really with minor adjustments. And so just to kind of, like Kendra said, I didn't grow up around horses. I wanted a horse from the time I was very young, but I just didn't. No one in my family had horses. So that was not in the cards for me until very recently. And I'm 44. And so it has been a huge blessing and so interesting to watch. So I'm just starting to really ride, not barrel race, but ride for the first time. And I've been amazed just watching these ladies and looking at the things that you guys are teaching. I can implement that in regular riding, right? Even at a walk, these things, and talking about the feel of the horse and your body positioning, and how, just the slightest things can make a huge difference in the response you get from your horse, the attitude of your horse. It can, decrease. My daughter was injured in a horseback riding accident, so we gave her lessons, and she was injured. And so, naturally, I battle a little bit of fear when I get on a horse now. Prior to that, I really wasn't too fearful when I got on a horse, but it's a little bit of a battle for me, knowing that it could just take that long, or for something to go wrong. So just being able to take all of this in, and we talk about how to calm yourself, the breathing, your body position, and how you can, if you can implement these things, you can really jive with your horse. Like if you're focused and paying attention, you can get in there and learn the feel of your horse and really connect with the horse. And so I feel like emotionally, like being able to implement all of those techniques and have those as goals really helps the rider and the horse get to a way more relaxed state. And some of the other things that I feel like I should mention, just from a third party perspective, is I never knew, the details on feed and supplements. And I actually had a horse here on our property in Texas that I was taking care of, that we were having a little bit of issue with attitude, and he was he was in the process of going blind, and he was just pushy, blind and pushy, and I didn't understand it. And I talked to Kendra about it, did a little bit of digging, and was able to switch the feed. And 6 weeks later, huge, different horse, completely different horse. And so, like, some of these things in roundabout ways, even though I don't barrel race, I've been able to implement and see how they work myself. And then, of course, I'm seeing, all of our people that are involved, I'm seeing the changes that are happening with them and their horses too. So it's really, it's pretty mind blowing sometimes how just,
it is my
being willing to listen and having the expertise, like the panel of expertise that we have. You, our other 4 coaches, I did the math because I was curious one day. And you guys combined, the 5 of you have over 250, I think, years in the saddle experience. And that right there, I can tell you from listening to these people speak and address our riders and their issues, it's invaluable.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you're never too old to start or to learn, right? You're not. It's a continual learning process.
That's right. Thank you. And it's fun to hear it from someone like you, who you're just stepping in and you're starting to immerse yourself. Like, you are privy to over 250 years of experience, right? So you don't have to wing it. You don't have to repeat the mistakes we've made, which is inevitable to some degree, but so many accidents and so many mistakes can be avoided with just simple awareness and education. Martin, last week you mentioned the elite training level, and most of us want to be there. We kind of fancy ourselves as, wanting to improve, wanting to run at a higher level. It can be a very humbling sport. Lori has the advantage of not having to unlearn decades of wrong doctrine. Right. Decades of wrong methods. So why is it harder to unlearn something than learn right the first time?
Yeah, I have hung around people doing peak performances, like sprinters, for example, right? A sprinter doing 100-meter dash, that's 10 seconds. 200 is 18, 19, right? Which is sort of similar to what you're experiencing on the barrel race, right? Like, it's sub 20 most times, right?
Yes.
So it's all packed. Every single step, every single turn, every single breath, every little detail will either add or subtract milliseconds. And in that short amount of time, it could add up to 5%, right? You're winning by a nose, you're not winning by a mile. Mm-hmm. So that's the peak performance bit. And it's kind of great that you are able to define it as coachable, right? A coachable person is one who's willing to adjust. If the classic metaphor was this student arriving at a guru's home and saying, "Guru, teach me." And Guru says, "Sure, let's have tea." And Guru starts pouring tea into the cup and keeps pouring and pouring and pouring, and it's overflowing and whatever. And student says, "Please stop, you're overfilling the cup." And he said, "Well, and that's how it is with a student. Please take this metaphor. You first have to empty the cup before you can pour more in." And so the metaphor being for the students, right? When folks arrive here, they arrive with their whatever many years of experience, and they need to be coming in with this willingness to be wrong, willingness with being able to accept that when you're pointing something out, it's actually for their good rather than to make them feel wrong. It's just like, people learning to not take input as criticism.
we're starting to get into something that's really deep, as we were purposing to remove the mental blocks in our horses. What we're learning about ourselves is very sobering, and it is very humbling. I personally did not think I was a prideful person, but I was a very insecure person. And you wouldn't think that an insecure person is prideful, but really I was, because I thought of myself too much. I was just wrapped up in the negative aspect of it instead of the positive. And then there were times when I had a little success early on. See, I took credit for good horses. And I took that as me being the winner. No, my parents outfitted me with good old solid horses until I screwed a couple of them up, because I had the wrong methods. I was only doing what I was taught or what I thought was correct, what I saw other people doing, but it did not work for me and my horses. And I didn't understand why. So it's very interesting to be on this journey and start to really dig into how horses are mirroring what's going on inside of our own lives.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's very difficult. That can be a tough pill to swallow. So thank you for saying that, being willing to be wrong, and not in a judgmental way, but in a, we're here to help you. We have been wrong so many times. That's the point. We're trying to save other people from making the same very expensive, very time-consuming and costly mistakes that we've made.
You heard me talk about my own story. It comes with 50 years of doing things wrong and then doing things better.
Mm-hmm.
I was fully vested and trained and programmed to trust the medical system. I already said that in my initial story. I grew up as a son of a veterinarian, believing in science, and he was just all in on the mainstream medical thinking, which is the symptom correction, which is symptom treatment is the wrong way of thinking about things. What we really need to learn to think is, and what is the cause of that? That is the right question. The question isn't, how do I fix the error? The question is, why did I make the error?
Ooh, that question alone could change the course of horsemanship. If we will
life
enough, yes, and life, just slow down enough to look down at our horses and pay attention, instead of saying, how do I fix this problem? What is the cause of this problem?
Indeed. And so when it comes to nutrition, and I can talk about that until you're sick of me, I have learned it the hard way, because I went all the way to the bottom. I was crawling on all fours from my rocking chair to my toilet because I couldn't walk. I was that broken. Right? And then I had to go that far down to finally admit that the mainstream way of thinking was just the wrong alley. And we had to undo all of that.
Isn't that interesting how many parallels there are in life? Because I feel like I had to spiral all the way down in my barrel racing dreams, to the point to where I really thought, like, I have no hope left. I've ruined so many horses. I've disappointed my family. I took on so much. I really had the wrong expectations. I had so many things wrong, but I just didn't know at the time. All I knew was that I hurt and I felt like a failure. And I felt like I'd wasted years of my life and millions of dollars for what? Just to feel worse? But to really wake up, thankfully, one person came along in my life and helped me open my eyes. She helped me think like a horse, put myself in my horse's place, and really start to pay attention to what the horse's body language was saying to me, instead of listening to the thousands and thousands of people that are all repeating traditional methods.
Yeah, power over versus power from within. Very big difference.
Very big difference. So here's what happened to me over the weekend. And last week, We had a blast here at the ranch. It started early in the week. Some of our interactive members came to the ranch and we had a small group clinic here. What I found fascinating is since we started Stall High's online training and online mentorship, it's getting better results for people than I ever expected, and really better results than I ever did in person. And I taught clinics around the nation for 12 years. Because we're able to be so consistent and we're able to train in really short segments of time. You don't have to be on your horse to listen. You don't have to be on your horse to learn and take something back and really chew on it, marinate, pick it apart and apply it to your horse. Practice it when you don't have the pressure of, oh, we're shutting down at 3 o'clock or 6 o'clock, but it was fascinating to see how the students who did come here, everything just clicked for them. And we were so much more efficient with our time. There were some riders who were new to the program. They came with one of our interactive members, and I was so proud of them for being willing to step in, right? Being willing to even consider maybe the way I was doing it, just because that was working pretty good. Is there a different way that might be even better? So they were willing to try. What I thought was fascinating, and it happens to all of us, when we get to the competitive setting. So we went to this huge event, WPRA Finals in Waco, Texas. It's so tempting to revert back. Why is that, Martin? Why do we go back to our muscle memory?
Stress. When we go into the stress mode, the frontal cortex, which is the time that gives us the advantage over animals, gets disengaged, and we go straight into back brain, which is essentially the lizard, whatever, the animal brain. So when cortisol, stress hormone, kicks in, it's just as if you cut off your ability to think. You go straight into instinct. And until you have built your instinct so strong that it is automated, then you revert. That's the problem with that.
So it's comfort zone. So basically you go back.
It's not
to
even
your-
comfort,
especially
Lori.
if
It's just
it's not even
automatic.
comfort.
No, it's physiology. You just,
Okay.
yeah.
That's
So
crazy.
let me try and put something in here. There was a study done many years ago now with people and doing visualization. So they took a subject, 2 groups, and the task was shooting hoops, just going into the gym and just doing the basketball, toss the ball and shoot the hoop. And half of the participants went into the room and did I don't know how many hours now this was, but the set time, throw the ball, throw the ball, throw the ball. And the other group was put in a chair, close eyes and visualize shooting hoops and visualize the correct movement and visualize. They were given the physiology of it and they were given the how to do it. And they just kept visualizing over and over without touching the ball. And then they put them in the gym, did the test. Guess who did better?
The people who visualized.
Yep.
That's the power of the brain.
It's the power
There's where our
of the creating neural pathways that are going to hold you there. Yeah. So anyway, that's the point.
That's why this is working. That's why the online program's working.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
right. And then that makes me think of Venn. We have talked about this. And, I think some people have, they have to be open-minded in order to actually do that, just to actually close your eyes, visualize your run the way it looks, if it's just as it should be, right? And he's challenged some of our members to do that. And they have tried it and it does work, just like what you're saying. It really
You
does
need to
work.
create the neural pathways that are so well worn that you stay in that new rut.
So it's new habits. So we're basically depending on how long someone has been barrel racing and riding, you're looking at creating a new habit, which James talks about, 21 days, repeat, or 21 times, repeat it 21 times to make it a new habit. And so we're having to help people get through creating new habits. And that that jumps up in difficulty whenever
Yeah.
if you're putting yourself in a competitive environment in the middle of that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I'd give you the one more example. I call it the travel brain. I know that I'm preparing for a trip, and I know that I have to have everything on board. And on Friday morning, we're going to load up and go. Well, I have to make my list on the week before, because on Friday morning when I wake up, I'm going to be in the go mode, stress mode, back brain. I have to check my list. There's no way I'm going to remember without the checklist
Mhm.
to do it right,
Mhm.
because I'm going to have my travel brain on. I
This
guess you
can,
could call it the race day brain on, or
yes,
whatever. Yeah.
this can liberate so many people because we're so hard on ourselves or our horse. Like if we're not far enough along to realize it's us, right, and take responsibility and accountability, we first blame the horse. It's the horse's fault. I saw so many people at the WPRA finals, and God bless our vendors. We love them. But I saw so many people just picking up bits and trying out bits, and that Dr. Lee from Double X Equine, so his vet practice mobile there, his vet's spot, it wasn't a stall, it's just a spot right there at the back of the barn. He was flooded. They didn't allow that man to take like a lunch break. There were so many people just hounding, to his spot, and getting back injections and hock injections and stifles and checking this and checking that. And that's prudent. That's good. They waited until the race, or they allowed the stress mode to say, something's wrong with my horse. I've got to grab for a solution. They didn't do that before. They didn't get their checklist before. It took the fear of losing a competition or the embarrassment to send them to Dr. Lee and have their horse checked.
Yeah, and the other also part of that is the problem solution as opposed to the preparation and lifting of the whole performance, right? It's the thinking. The best example I can give you is we have this horrible drug problem in the United States. We call it the war on drugs, and we're chasing little drug dealers around town and trying to put them in jail and whatever.
Mhm.
The question should be, why are so many people so unhappy with their lives that they need to numb their brains out of existence? Why are there so many people who want to just be not feeling the pain that they're in, that they want to take stuff to stop feeling it?
Mhm.
Right?
That's
That is the
question to ask.
that is the drug problem, right? So just hold this in your mind when you approach your horse, and just think, okay, what is the question here? Is the question about the hoofs or the whatever? No, it goes back a long way.
It goes way back, and we started scratching that surface. So watching the young girls go to competition. So they came here, they were willing to learn. When we get to competition, not so comfortable, not so confident. So it was much easier for them to go back to their same tack that they've been running in. Their coach, who's one of our interactive members, she was a lot more willing to make changes. And it was interesting. I'm waiting on the photographer to send the files so we can review those hopefully next week. James Pfeiffer, he has Rodeo Bum Photography. He actually puts a camera up top in the ceiling, so we can see an aerial view at the third barrel. We can see multiple shots throughout the run, and so we'll be able to compare those on myself and on our other interactive member. So it's fascinating to see the measurements, the mechanics, when things work, when things don't. And I had a huge uh-oh on the second day, and it felt so bad. It felt extreme, but like you say, it was sub 20. It's happening so fast. On camera, it doesn't look that bad on video, but it felt extreme. I'm better today, but yesterday I was so sore I could hardly move when I woke up. And that made me think, wow, if that one split second hurt me that much and opened my eyes to, wow, Kendra, you really have spent more time on this laptop in the past year than you've spent in the barn and in the saddle.
Yeah.
It was a very humbling moment. Well, how much does that potentially hurt our horses? You know, and we're not really considering how much the mechanics add up. And like you said, going way, 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 way back to the original root of the problems, the questions we should be asking. Can I share my screen? All right. I am the case study this week. So our friend Seth Pfeiffer, he was working the second barrel. So he sat in the same spot every day and he videoed me. I came in too fast, so he didn't have a chance. He was like, oh, there's Kendra, and he's fumbling with his phone. So he starts videoing right here on Friday. And I'm so proud of this mare. I've been working with her for 3 years. I'd started a question in my mind. She's so awesome. She's flawless. This run we're about to see just felt like silk. I really didn't see how to get any faster because I thought maybe she had maxed out. Maybe she had plateaued. And I've been asking myself that all along because she's very sweet and she's very accurate, but she doesn't scare me, Martin. When she runs, I don't get that like, you know, intensity. So I just question, does she have the physical ability and the speed to go to that next level? So
Right.
here's our first run. I was so happy with this run. Since Lori and I have been getting ready for Las Vegas during the national finals, our online activation, Top 15 Challenge, we've been fully focused on that since August. I have not been able to spend much time with this horse at all since
Mhm.
August. And even more in the last month, it was even less. So for us to go make a run that smooth and that consistent, no exhibitions, no practice at home, it was just so rewarding and so fulfilling.
So
And
what
it
did you
took
get
me a
there?
long
Was it like 16? So was
That
it
was
like about 16 or so?
that was a 16.9.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And so that's something that I want to share with people. That took me so long to get to a point in my career to be happy, be pleased with what we were able to do and weigh the math, like do the math, weigh, you know what? I have no right to expect to run any better or any faster because I haven't had the time to commit to myself or this horse. So I was exceedingly proud of how we performed, given what we've been able to put into the situation. Here's the second run. So this was on Saturday. When you watch them back to back, they kind of look like the same run. Right there got me.
This looks weird.
Here's a 16.9 again. So both runs were 16.9. One felt smooth as silk and not almost flawless. And I'm thinking, well, that's fun, but I want to be at the top again. I want to go back to the top 15 rank in the world. Does she have the grit to do it? Well, she answered me. She called me out on Saturday and she said, I had to practice what I preach. I heard my own words coming out of my mouth that horses they can feel and sense our energy. And so sometimes if we're just thinking ahead of them, they won't push through that. We need to give them permission and freedom physically and mentally to run forward and not inhibit that. And so I changed my mindset a little bit. And here's what happened. The second run in the green shirt was not as smooth. It felt horrible, Martin.
Yeah. I can see you're twisting in the saddle, twisting in your shoulders, leaning to the side. Am I noticing it correctly?
Yes, and that was not intentional. I'm the same rider. She was firing so much harder. See, in the top, and what she's been doing all along, I think, is taking care of me.
Yeah.
She knows I've been fully committed building Stall High for the last 3 years. I haven't been in full-time trainer mode like I did for the bulk of my career. So she schooled me. She felt like a completely different horse, and I felt like I was all over the place.
Yep.
So I know we lost time at this first barrel was the beginning of it. See where I get unseated?
Yep.
She goes past. She's about to hesitate right here. See that on the bottom screen, her foot kind of hesitates right there. Now I was proud of the second, but my mind's trying to keep up because I'm still kind of thinking, she just rung my bell at the first barrel. Oh my God, I'm already going through the second barrel. I didn't have time to process. See my foot posture right there? It's decent, but when I critique myself,
Yeah, you're over too far, right?
I'm behind her if you watch my feet. So in the green shirt, my leg gets behind me more so than the top picture. And when that happens, we lose our control. You lose the stability in your core. Anytime our feet get behind us, we're weaker in our core and we're going to be more handsy. It causes us to have to rely on our upper body strength. So here's where, again, it's going so fast and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, she's really challenging me. Like, I need to start taking better care of my physical health so I can ride this mare. And at the third barrel in the green shirt, see that little bump right there? It unseats me right here.
Yeah, right there.
Well, here's where things are about to really unravel. The pressure of me landing right there. I lose my stirrup. I land again. And again, guys, if you're watching on replay or you're watching right now, every time our torso hits the back of that saddle and lands, think about your body weight in motion. And then there's no wonder why our horses are sore.
Yeah.
When we either intentionally or lack of awareness, we didn't prepare, this was a complete accident, right? She stepped up to the plate. I physically wasn't ready for it.
Yeah.
But that causes a lot of physical discomfort to our horse.
Yeah.
Now, because I lost my stirrup and she's wanting to turn hard and get out of there, right there, it shredded every muscle down my spine. It felt like it ripped a muscle, Martin.
Yeah, because you're way out of balance. Yeah.
And I'm using my saddle horn. I'm telling myself, don't pull on her mouth. Don't pull on the rein. So I'm trying to regain my posture by pulling on the saddle horn while she's trying to leave harder and faster.
Yeah.
And it just shredded my muscles.
Yep. I only wish I could get you some of those fibrinolytic enzymes. If you already had them on hand, we would have you feeling okay overnight.
So tell me about those, because I felt like hell the next day. And today, I'm still sore, but I didn't have to take ibuprofen this morning. I'm like, I can get over a little bit. I don't want to, I know it's not good to take.
Well, you need to be able to function.
So
I have two things in my bucket of tricks for sore woman, which is probably useful for sore horse too. But anyway, we have this thing called Amazing Soak, which is a oxygen delivery system. You can put it in the bathtub and you soak in it. You can do just a foot soak, but if you can do the whole body, then you just put yourself in with the Amazing Soak, and truly is amazing. I had a woman with a broken wrist. She soaked her arm in the bath of it, and was able to walk around with a broken wrist for 3 days because she was too busy to go to the X-ray technician, and says to the X-ray technician, listen, this is a broken wrist, please X-ray it. And the guy is saying, there's no way you would be walking around with a broken wrist like this with a smile on your face, because you would be screaming in pain. And she says, well, look, I just did the soak, just X-ray it. Yeah, X-rays it. Yes, it's broken. Yeah.
Okay. So
right?
what's
But
the-
anyway, so it takes
what's
away the
inflammation?
pain,
So-
right? Takes away the pain,
Okay.
takes away the inflammation instantly.
Okay.
And then the other thing is called the fibrinolytic enzyme. Fibrin or fibrin is the scar tissue that the body uses to repair things. So when you overstrain, overexercise, overextend, you rip muscles. And the body is fixing it overnight with scar tissue.
Mhm.
And it's the wrong kind of thing. It should be fixing it with the native cell, but it wants to fix you quick. So the fibrinolytic enzyme will allow your body to repair itself overnight and come back to functioning in the morning without this sort of issue.
Okay.
As an example, my friend who went skiing in the Alps, a 2-week trip that costs a lot of money, right?
Mhm.
And day one, he does one of those things where his edges catch and his feet go apart, just totally pulls his groin
Mhm.
over, out of range, right?
Mhm.
He said that would have been the end of the holiday, but I took 12 of the capsules of the product, and I was back on the skis tomorrow, the next day. And
So this is not something we have to stay on. We could just keep in our trailer in the event of injury.
well, tell you what, I take 2 or 3 of those every morning because in my 70-year-old body, I have cricks and cracks and whatever, right?
Mhm.
But if I were to pull something, and I did that, I was doing some stretches, and you need to be conscious when you do stretches, because if you're not staying in, I was thinking about something else, and I reached over and bang, there's this snap in my lower back, and I know, uh-oh, this is going to be hard. And so that day I took 12 of them in the evening and 12 in the morning and the next morning. And I'm functioning as
Okay,
opposed to,
So how do we do the search? How do we spell it? So we're going to go to live
oh,
dash.
so this one this great one is called Zymitol. That's spelled Zymitol.
Zymitol. Okay.
Yeah. And we have another one called Vitalzyme, Vitalzym. And
So both of those are
both of those are the fibrinolytics, and they work
Fibrinolytic.
exceedingly well. Yeah. Fibrinolytic. Yeah.
fibrinolytic. So I'm curious because I personally don't know of that available for horses, but I wonder if there are.
You can give it to the horse physiologically. It's just that, 630 capsule bottle costs $240.
Mhm.
And if you need to take 12, 2 or 3 days in a row to get it over,
Mhm.
all right. Now, a horse is at 10 times your size, so you're going to have to give them 120. 3 days in a row, you just blew $120 right there.
Well, I mean, I think about the times. So I actually walked through the Coliseum looking for the massage table that used to be there at WPRA finals all the time.
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
would help.
when I hurt really bad, so if I have a migraine or an injury and I'm just like, oh, my muscles are wrung out, I'll pay $100. And really it costs more these days to get a good massage. Well, that's only temporary, right? And when I have a migraine, oh,
Yeah.
$240 is nothing, right? Like you will pay anything when you're at that point.
Yeah, indeed.
But I do feel like we as horse lovers, we tend to love our horses so much that we take better care of them than we do ourselves. So I think this would be a great investment just to keep on hand in the
Okay.
trailer. It could have saved me hardship and just having to load and get all of my buckets and everything to the stall because you can't park right next to your stall. Just doing that by myself. So I didn't have anybody go with me this time. Well, I don't do that every day like I used to. And so it was hard. My muscles were sore every night. And another thing, I learned this too, and I know you're going to get all over this. When we were doing our session here at the house, and we were teaching, well, I spent all day on my feet, all day in the arena standing, and my back was shredded. I was so sore the next day. And
Mhm.
Shelly said, because she's learning, she said, that's because your glutes are weak. You've been
Yeah.
sitting at the computer more. And so your back was trying to compensate and do the work.
Yeah, correct.
That's mind blowing.
Yeah.
It's just how
Yeah.
much we don't know, but we get pressured into wanting fast results. We put that pressure onto our horses, and that's not fair. When you do the math, when you calculate the expense of unnecessary injuries, that once you know, well, then you're responsible, right? If you choose to ignore it, fine. But if you don't know, that's okay. You're off the hook. We're not here to make anybody feel worse. We're here to help people feel better and to liberate our horses as well. But
I do have something more affordable, which is known as MSM, bioavailable sulfur.
Mhm.
You probably are familiar with that, right?
Mhm.
Which is, it's not the enzyme, but it definitely is the facilitator of healing and oxygen and all of that. And that's, I
I've
think,
taken that before. I don't take it now. I'm more fascinated with the xylitol.
sure,
Yeah, because I've personally never heard of those fi-
the enzyme part,
fibrinolytic enzymes.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, it prevents the scarring, which means that the soreness is taken away overnight.
Well, and we spend so much money on our horses at the elite level. When you get to peak performance, we're spending hundreds of dollars per run anyway,
Well,
thousands.
here goes a story. So this is a story of a guy who is the motocross champion, right? Like he's world-class elite. And he fell off his bike 3 weeks before the championship and mangled his ankle. And doctor says, 6 weeks off, forget about it. You're not riding. Well, he took one of these $240 bottles of xylitol and pounded it in, and he actually won the championship on the 3rd week, right? I mean, all the training was there, all of that, whatever, right? I mean, he had the capability, but he was actually healthy enough, repaired enough to pull it together.
We've invested our lives. We have millions of dollars and decades, well over the 10,000 hours, like invested to be an expert when it gets to that level. For that to be so susceptible to injury, I mean, just think if he hadn't been able to compete or compete at his best. Yeah, 240 is a drop in the bucket compared to what we're spending on therapies for our horses. I'm just now learning to take better care of myself.
Yeah.
And had to learn that the hard way. Lori, any final thoughts from you today? This has been really cool. What is the cause of that instead of what's the quick fix?
Yeah. Symptom
Yeah, definitely.
or cause.
Right. Yeah. And try to get to the root before, or I mean, of course, sometimes Band-Aids are needed, but rather than just try to stick a Band-Aid on things, we're definitely diving into to help people realize the root cause and give us, an actual solution, a long-term solution, rather than Band-Aids.
Mm-hmm.
And you need the Band-Aid when you need the Band-Aid when you've hurt, but you need to ask yourself, do I want this again?
No. And do we want it for our horses? No, we don't. Once you see and you realize the impact that they're having to absorb, well, that changes things drastically. Yeah. And the lizard brain. So that personally takes a lot of pressure and guilt off of me. And if you're listening out there, guys, and you are being hard on yourself, either hard on your horse or hard on yourself, like, why can't I get it together? Why is my horse so good at home and we can make this run perfect at home, but we get to the rodeo and it falls apart? Martin just explained it to you. If you didn't catch it earlier, catch the replay. He just liberated you from decades of guilt and hardship. So once we know better, we can do better. But like you started this, Martin, we have to do it enough times to where it becomes automated, where we make a deep enough groove in our brain, in our mental pathways, neuropath, I believe you called it, to where it becomes a new norm.
A habit.
So good. Lori, anything else?
I don't think so. That's good. So the only other thing I was going to say is if you want to check out Martin's products, we have a link. You should see it up on Facebook. You'll see it up above the video on YouTube. You'll see it in the comments below the title of the video below, but you can check it out there and search those things. And if you guys have questions about any of those products, you're welcome to shoot us a text at 940-291-9090 and just text us, Martin, and we can help find whatever product you're interested in.
Yeah, I'm willing to answer questions. Tell us that you're coming from Stall High. We'll treat you like gold.
And you have a contact button on life-enthusiast.com as well. You also have a diagnostic tool that you use, so a test that people can take so that it gives you a better sample of what's way back there. What are we really dealing with?
Yeah.
So I'm really excited that you're on this journey with us and that you take time to educate us, because so many things don't make sense. And when we do the math, when we step back and realize, wow, I just irrationally spent $1,600 to go compete over the weekend. Let's just use that as a number, because a lot of people spent more than that. $1,600. But if you're not careful, guys, and you're not weighing the risk, you could have deducted $16,000 off of your horse's value. Just like that. You wonder why it's not working. And then you do that a few times, and then what are you going to do? You're going to go buy another horse, or you're going to want to. Or you're going to feel like you're stuck with that one, and you're going to feel like me eventually, like you're at the end of your rope, lost all hope. I know that rhymes and sounds corny, but that's where I was. And I needed someone to drastically challenge the way I was doing things and to help me open my eyes and realize that learning is not judgmental. It's not condemnation. Everybody makes mistakes. Horses do too, but you can decrease the amount of mistakes, you can decrease the amount of risk, and you can decrease the severity of so many injuries and so many accidents that happen by simple knowledge, information. It's up here. And that's what we're about at Stall High. Martin Patella from Life Enthusiast, thank you for spending time with us again this week. We'll see you back here next Tuesday, correct? Okay.
Yes.
Guys, if you're watching and you have a question that you want Martin to answer specifically, reach out to us. info@stallhigh.com. Lori just gave you the texting number. You can text us. One of us will answer as quickly as we can. We're really excited to be on this journey. We're going to keep going and keep going. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, download the Stall High app if you're really serious about getting help with your horse and you want to know what the mental block is and how to remove it. Come be a part of the Stall High Society. It's happening online. It's super easy. You can find us all over the internet. I'm Kendra Dixon here with Martin Patella, Lori Roth from Stall High, and we're here to help you have a great next ride. So until next week, everybody, share lifeenthusiast.com and check out stallhigh.com. Bye, everybody. Thank you again, guys.
Thank you.